there, quilter. Do you ever look at your pile of unfinished project and think, shouldn't I be further along by now? Or do you scroll through Instagram, see someone finish a quilt top in a weekend and immediately question what you're doing with your life? Like, why aren't you as productive as this person is, right? Like, shouldn't that be you? Welcome back to Loose Threads and Stitches, the cozy, no judgment corner of the quilting world. I am your host, Kristen from Icy Stars Quilting, and today we're going to talk about a topic that has been sitting pretty heavy on my heart lately, and it is the pressure to always be productive. And man, do I feel it right now. I mean, I am a perfectionist at heart. I love when those seams come together perfectly. Like, happy fireworks go off in my head when those seams come together perfectly without me having to do like a whole lot of fudging and working with it. So in a craft that is meant to bring us joy and relaxation, why do we often feel like we're behind? We're not doing enough, or we're not measuring up to whatever the measurement that we're supposed to measure up is, okay? Today, we're going to talk honestly about where that pressure comes from and why it doesn't serve us, and how we can reclaim quilting as something nourishing instead of something that we constantly feel behind on. Let's call it what it is. We live in a culture of hustle. I hate that word. I really, honestly, I hate that word hustle, okay? Even in the quilting world, there's this underlying idea that if you're not constantly making, finishing, posting about it, showing your friends, giving your quilts away, helping this charity and also helping this charity and working for your church group and all of this at the same time, you might not be a real quilter, okay? We get this weird mental checklist, okay? How many quilts did I finish this year? Am I doing the latest block of the month? Actually, how many blocks of the month am I behind on at this moment? I don't know. It sneaks in from social media, from YouTube, and even from like friendly quilting challenges, all things that can be absolutely wonderful when approached with the right mindset. But if you're already overwhelmed, these little helpful things, they start to feel like expectations instead of encouragement. We start to define our worth by output instead of by the joy that we receive from it. And a lot of this pressure is fueled by what we see online. Absolutely guilty of it myself. Social media has this way of making everyone else's productivity visible. Okay. You scroll through Instagram and it feels like every single quilter is churning out finished tops and full quilts, like they have some magical time machine that you really need in your life. And if you're sitting there with your half assembled blocks in a color palette that doesn't even excite you anymore and a cup of cold coffee next to you, yeah, it's easy to feel like you're doing something totally wrong. But here's the thing. Who gets to decide what enough actually looks like? Are we even measuring progress in a way that makes sense for real life? Like actual real life, real humans, real people, real life. And here's a truth for you. Quilting isn't a race. It's not a race. It's not a competition. It's not about how many quilt tops that you can complete or whether your seams are absolutely perfect, no matter how happy that makes the little fireworks go off in your heart, okay? Quilting is about storytelling. It's about slowing down, and it's about stitching love into fabric and stitching creativity into the fabric and letting your mind rest while your hands are busy. So some of my favorite projects have taken like years to finish, and some are still not done. And honestly, that doesn't make me any less of a quilter. It does make me feel a tiny bit of like quilt guilt. And I've talked about that before in some of my episodes, but it's just that's something that you're gonna have to work on for a long time, by the way. Quilt guilt doesn't go away. But it doesn't make me any less of a quilter that those projects are unfinished. You're not behind. You're not lazy. I'm not lazy. I'm not behind. I'm not failing, and neither are you. You're just human. And if you're taking care of your family, you're taking care of your health, you're taking care of your work, or if you are just simply trying to catch your breath, that matters too, okay? I want to pause for a second and let's zoom out. So this conversation between you and I is about productivity, but productivity doesn't stop at the edge of our quilting table or as soon as the door to the quilting studio is closed, right? It spills into everything. How clean your house is, whether you made a home cooked meal tonight or you had to order takeout again, okay? How many unread emails are sitting in your inbox? If it's like mine, it's probably far, far too many. We've been conditioned to believe that our value is tied to what we do instead of who we are. But creativity, it doesn't flourish under pressure and guilt. It thrives in space and slowness and moments that aren't rushed. Yes, you can absolutely force a quilt to come together when you're on a deadline, but I'm talking about like true, joyful creativity where you are just making things for the sake of making things because it makes your heart happy and you enjoy it, right? So let's zoom in a little bit again and let's reframe what productivity looks like, okay? Maybe productivity is taking the time to iron your fabric and dream up some new ideas. Maybe it's sewing one seam and calling that a win. Maybe it's not sewing it all today, but pinning on your Pinterest board some inspiration for next week when you know that you will have more energy and more time to focus on quilting and sewing. We need to give ourselves permission to have seasons in our creativity. Some are high output seasons and some are low and gentle and like in our winter seasons in life, right? Not necessarily like winter months, but winter seasons where just energy is low and there's plenty of other things going on. And some seasons are just like some full starts and stops. Like you get like bursts in there, like little bitty firecrackers in there, right? Instead of asking, how much did I get done? I want you to ask, did I enjoy the process today? Did I create space for rest and for my mind to reset? Did I show up for myself even in a small way? Because that right there is what quilting should be about. That right there is what quilting should be about. And next time you catch yourself comparing your progress to someone else's highlight reel, I want you to please remember that post is one moment. It's not the whole story. You didn't see the chaos that came before or the mess that came after. You're only seeing the very, very best polished angle, possibly touched up, and your story is allowed to look completely different than theirs. So if you find yourself feeling kind of crummy about only completing maybe 2 or 3 quilts a year, even 1 quilt a year, I want you to know that quilting is not a small feat, right? It is not for the weak, and someone else's pace has absolutely nothing to do with your success. It's okay to love quilting and to enjoy it at your own pace. So if you've been holding yourself to a standard that isn't really yours, I want you to take a deep breath and know that it's okay to let that go. It's okay to take away the bar that you're trying to reach, okay? You're a quilter because you show up with love and intention, and not because of the number of quilts that you've finished and how many finished quilts are on your shelf right now, okay? Or how many finished quilts that you have given away. If today's episode gave you a little breath of relief, I would love for you to subscribe or follow this podcast and come over and tell me what is one way that you're going to give yourself more grace in your quilting this week or this month or this season. And what is one way that you can add a little bit more self-care in there, or just make things easier on yourself? Because I don't know who set that bar, but I don't think I've ever reached mine, because every time I get close, what happens? The bar moves higher and becomes just out of reach again. So if you are craving a quilting community that values connection over perfection, come hang out with us inside the Stitch Sister Inner Circle. We would absolutely love to have you, and this is my invitation to you personally. Until next time, keep stitching, keep breathing, and remember that your worth is never, ever measured in the number of quilts that you have finished. I'm Kristen from ICStarsQuilting.com. Thank you for tuning in to the Loose Threads and Stitches podcast. I'll see you next week. Bye.